Hey, welcome back to the Dropping Quarters Arcade. Today we're going to try and transform this rather dull looking arcade cabinet into something a little bit more exciting. We're going to try and do it all in one afternoon. We're going to use some vinyl car wrap and some classic new old stock side art. Now, as you can see, we've got some nasty lock bar holes here that we had to fill. They were drilled all in the front of the panel of the cabinet here. And there were some bolts drilled in the side as well, which is a little bit odd. I've never seen that before. Anyway, we're going to have to make sure we sand these down so they're nice and smooth. But before we can do that, we're going to need to remove the coin box as well. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way, and then we can move on. Now, sometimes with coin doors, you have to come through the front to get to these bolts. But we've got good access from the back of the cab here. So we're just going to go in and do it that way. It's going to be a lot easier. So let's get these bolts unscrewed, and the whole coin door will just move out of the front of the cab. Now with the coin door out of the way, we can start sanding. I've got some 600 grit wet and dry, little pad just to wrap it around, and I've got my water, great for keeping the mess down and getting a nice smooth finish. So now I'm just going to wet up my paper and take my time to get this sanded all nice and smooth. Okay, now I've got this far, and we've knocked down the putty pretty well, but if you run your fingers over it, if you can feel a difference when you run your fingers over where you've filled, then you need to go back and do a little bit more. Probably use some more putty because I've got some indents here. Don't think that vinyl is going to save you. In fact, if anything, it's going to show these divots and bumps even more because it's essentially got a gloss finish. So you really want to take your time and make sure you get rid of every little last divot. Don't rush it. So I'm going to go get some glazing putty and give these another layer. We'll just give this a wipe down with our cloth here. Clean it up best we can for now. And this is the glazing putty I use. Dynatron glazing and spot putty, 650. I really like this stuff. Not too expensive. I only use it for top layer though. You can still use Bondo for your main filler. But this stuff is perfect for getting all of those little grazes, those little tiny dings that will show up under your paint job or your vinyl artwork. So to dress up this cab, I went with this automotive wrap that I found on eBay. This cabinet is actually going to be a recreation of an Ikari Warriors I did about 8, 9, 10 years ago, where I used a similar type of camouflage on the cab just to give it sort of a more fun look. But what I'm going to have to do is split this in two. It's supposed to be 60 inches, but measuring it, it's actually like 59 and a half. That might cause me an issue because the cab at its deepest point is 30 inches. So that's really frustrating. I bought this as 60 inches wide, comes from eBay, it's 59 and a half. Doesn't seem like that would be a big difference, but it can be enough to really sort of cause some problems. Anyway, let's get this measured and cut, and we'll see what we can do. And as I was concerned about this vinyl is slightly too short. God, that's frustrating. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to line it up with the back of the cab, and it's just this tiny piece of the control panel here that that sticks out the most. So I think I'm going to have to try and patch that, because it's not worth spending another 60 bucks on another roll of this just for what is essentially a 4-inch strip of what, 1/4 inch wide vinyl. So we'll patch it. Now I've got the lug bar holes sanded down and smoothed with the surface. They're looking a lot better now. However, we've hit yet another snag. There was some latex paint on the front of the cab here, and you can see it started to break away. So that's actually giving us some texture that I can feel it. Here now. So I'm going to move over to a dry sander and see if I can knock this back just enough to even it all out. Problems. I used my reciprocating sander just with some 200 grit on a disc there, and just dry and very, very lightly just dusted over the top of those areas just to smooth them out. So now I can't feel the edge of the paint where that latex was. And this feels pretty smooth now. So we should be good with that. It shouldn't be too bad. So now I think we're ready to move on to applying vinyl. Now while I've got the sander out, I'm also just going to take a quick pass over the cab on the outside here. You can see we've got some like little bits that got stuck in the paint where someone has painted this with a latex. So just going to go through, find these little nubbins here and just knock them back. Try and get this smooth as we can before we think about vinyl. All right, time to start doing some vinyl. We've got our vinyl cut to size here. This is our problem piece. This is one that fell a little bit short, so we're going to work on that and see if we can do something to rectify our little shortfalling on the control panel. But first of all, we've got to tape it up and make sure everything's in place. So let's do that now. I'm going to use the factory cut edge on the back of the cabinet, because that one I know is perfectly straight. Because most of the other edge where I cut it is going to get trimmed off anyway. Just going to go ahead and trim the vinyl here, just so we don't have too much overhang to deal with while we're cutting. Go about 1/2 inch outside of the edge of the cab. I don't know if it's showing up too much on camera, but as you can see, we've got our 1/2 inch here. So we'll see what we can do with that. Now, a lot of people like to lie their cabs down when they're putting vinyl on like this. And there's certainly nothing wrong with doing that. Personally, I prefer to do them standing up. One, because I really don't have much space to lie the cab down in here when I'm working on one in the arcade. But two, I'm getting old and these things are heavy. So they're usually about 250 pounds. Atari cabs can get up to 400 pounds. And that's not even the big ones. They're just built like tanks. So the idea of tipping one of these over on my own and then later on bringing it back up again, that's just not something that I fancy doing in my later years. Not as young as I used to be. Anyway, okay, so what I've done here is I've created a hinge. We've aligned the vinyl down to the bottom. I'm sure I'm out of picture right now, but we've got it lined up with the edge of the back of the cab. Now I'm going to use the dry method to do this. One of the nice things about using this automotive vinyl is it is perforated with micro doodads to let any air bubbles out. So it can be a lot more forgiving when you're putting it down. So just take our positioning stuff off. It's good to have all of your gear ready to go, because once you start working with the vinyl, you can't really walk away. So I'm just going to fold the top down, try and find my corner here. Just peel off the backing paper and just let the vinyl sit. And then I'm just going to cut the backing paper. If I can get my knife on it. Careful not to hit the paint in the back. All right, and then I'm going to take my squeegee that I have here, and slowly but surely we're just going to make our way up and out to the sides, making sure our vinyl doesn't start getting away from us. See, this stuff is nice because you can reposition it if you need to. There we go. Make our way up the cab like this. You can see it goes on nice and easy. Now, because this is printed, I'm using, hopefully it'll focus on that, the squeegee I'm using has got a felt edge to it. So it's nice to use that because it's not going to scratch any of the ink off the surface of the vinyl. Okay. And now I just reverse the process. I can take my hinge off now. This time, all I'm going to do is slowly start to peel the backing paper off from underneath the vinyl, keeping a little bit of tension, and just work my way down. Once we've got to this part, oh, I better come down here. Once we got to this part, I'm going to use a laminate vinyl roller. This is really good. It's got a tough edge on it, and you can put a lot of pressure on the vinyl without worrying about marking it. So again, just work your way from the center of the cab out. Get a bit of an angle with some light there. See if you can spot any bubbles. And you hear them pop like that, and that means you caught some. Okay, that doesn't take long. We've got one nice clean side there. Not seeing any bubbles or anything, so pretty happy with that. Let's see if we can do something with this. So what we're going to try and do here, first approach, I'm going to use the heat gun. Vinyl will stretch under heat. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stretch it this far. I don't know how much give is in this particular brand, but that's what we'll try and see if we can get it to come the full distance. Wish me luck. Well, I think we actually pulled it off. You can see the color has got a slight fade to it where the vinyl has been stretched, but for the most part I think it took care of the problem. So I think we got real lucky with that one. Phew. Now that we've got most of the vinyl on, I like to go around the edges with the heat gun now and just make sure I've got everything nice and sharply folded over into the T-molding slot. Just like that. If you don't do this, then you stand the chance of getting sort of a puffy edge or a bubble just where the T-molding meets the vinyl. So it's really important to get this vinyl in nice and hot and really kind of melted over the edge. Now once you feel certain that you've got your vinyl nice and tightly wrapped around the edges, just go ahead, take your knife and just follow the edge of the channel for the T-molding all the way around. We don't want any of this vinyl sitting in the T-molding channel. We just want it coming up to the edge like this. Take a look at that glorious NOS artwork, new old stock. 40 years old, never been used. I actually found it on a local classifieds ad randomly enough. Okay, this time, because I'm putting vinyl on vinyl, I'm not going to use the dry method. I'm going to use Windex and lightly spray the entire back of the sticker down. And then when we put it back up, we've got something giving us a little bit of give, a little bit of play between the two surfaces. And then we can use our squeegee and our roller to push that water out from between the two. And hopefully we'll get a nice, perfect lay down of this wonderful old piece of artwork. So go ahead, take my top hangers off and let it hinge down. It'll probably hinge out of view of the camera. I'm just going to peel off the backing paper very carefully. Now there are some creases in the vinyl because it's so old. I'm hoping that we can get those out, but we'll dust this down. Plenty of liquid. And bring it back up. Again, just keep a little tension. And this time I'm going to go straight up through the middle. Not too hard. Now these creases I'm a little worried about because they've been there for a long time. Let's do the top of the sticker where we don't have any issues. Again, this felt covered spatula is perfect for this because we do not want to scratch the printing on this piece. Okay, now I'll take my hinges off, just being careful again not to pull anything off the surface of the artwork. And we do the back here, that's not an issue. And you can see it's pushing the water out from between the two, giving us a bubble-free finish, which is exactly what we're looking for. Now, what can we do here? Gotta be careful here, because if we do it wrong, we actually make it worse. Yeah, the vinyl is deformed over time. Yeah, it really wants to hold on to that shape. Don't want to push it too far and scratch it. Let's try a little bit of heat. See if that hurts or helps. I've got to plug my heat gun in. They work better when you plug them in. Just try and heat it up a little bit. See if I can get it to give. Again, whilst we've still got moisture under the artwork, we can play a little. Come on. Notice I'm not getting too close to it, just enough to warm it. But we don't want to deform it even more. That's my real concern. I think I got it. Yep. All right, that worked. So just gentle heat. If you ever find this old stuff, I mean, it's wonderful that you can find it because it adds that extra little special layer of authenticity to your restore. But don't forget, these stickers have been sitting there for 40 years. And so if they've been in environments that get hot and then cold again, or if they've been folded, it can deform the sticker and it'll actually lift from the backing paper and get some bad wrinkles and creases to it. But we got lucky. Now I'll go and find my little roller. This is why it's always good to have your tools here before you go, because now I can't find it. There it is. Okay. And now again, we can really get some weight on this. Careful not to slip. Don't want to get any scratches. And let's just make sure we get as much of that moisture out as possible. And of course, any little tiny bubbles. This is old vinyl, so it's not going to have the air release technology that the new vinyls do. You know, like the camouflage stuff we put down. So it's a lot less forgiving. You got to respect the vinyl. Okay, whew, a little bit of a workout. There we go, one side done. So I'm going to move on to the second side, but I'm not going to film that and bore you guys, make you watch it all over again. So we'll cut back when we're ready to do the front kick panel. Okay, side 2 done, thanks to the magic of editing. Now we can move on to the kick plate on front of the cab. Now we're going to use the exact same approach that we did on the sides. Made our little hinges here. So I'm just going to pull down the top section, separate the vinyl from the backing paper if I can find the corner. Nice helicopter going above, sorry about that noise. Come on guys, don't you know I'm filming? Carefully take off our hinge. I ran out of masking tape. I'm having to use duct tape, but I stuck it to my pant leg a few times to just knock back the adhesive so it's not doing any damage. All right, and then let's go underneath, find our backing paper and start to work our way down. Not too much pressure in the middle there, because of course that's where our hole is for our coin door. Don't want to have an accident and go ripping through that. That would be bad. I'm just tucking into this edge. I aligned this edge already, so less work. This really is great vinyl, it's very easy to work with. I got this on eBay. Okay. Looks nice and tight, and as you can see, Those nasty lock bar holes have all but disappeared now, which is exactly what we wanted. So it was worth taking the time to make sure they were well sanded and out of the way. Let's go ahead and do the satisfying fun part. Cutting out the coin door hole. Look at that, can I do it all in one go? Oh no, I hit a notch. No, gotta go around this way. Ta-da! And then we'll get in on this edge here, trim right into the corner. And I'm just gonna get the heat gun on this bottom edge here. Just to make sure it wraps nice and tight, just around the bottom lip. I don't know if you can see on camera, but I just propped up the front of the cab a little bit. Oh no, it's come unplugged. Really cook that bottom edge. We really want to melt the edge of it so that the vinyl really does wrap around and stick hard to the bottom, because obviously we don't want it peeling back. There we go, we are wrapped. I think it's time to move on to T-molding. Now, to match the design of my original machine, I'm going to be using yellow T-molding because that's what I used on my first build the first time around. Keys nicely in with the buttons and a lot of yellow in the artwork, which we'll see when we start putting the bezel and the marquee and everything back in. Cut this in half, 1/2 on each side. Simple enough. Let's get it done. Now, when you reach a corner with T-molding, you don't want to go around the corner too sharp without taking care of the inner tooth that goes into the channel. So when you get to a corner, just do one little clip there, pull it back a little bit, and just take a notch out like that. Okay, and then just pull it tight around the corner. Get your rubber mallet. Then you've got a nice, sharp, clean corner. Do the same here. When you come to an inverted corner, all you do is you put a split in that tooth, and that's enough to let the tooth separate, and you can follow the contour. Simple trick, works wonders. Ta-da! All right, we're at the home stretch now. Let's get this coin door back in. This is really starting to come together. And go around the back, put the bolts in. Here is an all original Ikari Warriors marquee. It's not repro, in beautiful condition. So let's go ahead and put that where it belongs. Okay, now let's go ahead and put in the cardboard bezel around the screen. A little floppy, but it's okay. It's going to do the trick. And then we have a wooden frame as well. And that goes in like so. I'm going to have to take the control panel down out of the way. And then finally, again, all original. This is a little bit beat up, this one, but that's okay. It's an old game. We're all a little bit beat up when we're old, aren't we? Okay, let's slide that into place with the plastic as well. Looks good. You guys have crazy reflections. Let's see. No, not too bad. Put our control panel back. There we have it, my friends. Woo! I think that took about 4 hours if we add everything up, but quite a transformation, and feeling pretty nostalgic seeing it like this, because like I say, this is a tribute to a machine that I made. Actually, I was doing the math in my head. It was about 13 years ago. I think it was like 2012, 2013, something like that. But here it is again in all of its over-the-top camouflage glory. Thank you for coming on this journey with me today. It's been a lot of fun. Man, I'm kind of tired now, but I'm really happy with the way the Ikari Warriors machine turned out. Hope you guys enjoyed watching and maybe you learned something along the way. Hopefully that will help you with some of your restores, anything that you might be doing. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, you know the drill. And if you've got any suggestions or comments, put them down below. I do read them and I try and respond. But until the next time, take care and happy gaming.